This is what it's like dealing with a conspiracy theorist. I found a video on YouTube called Mudflood Sydney, a short first video of mudflood evidence around Circular Quay by a guy who calls his channel a toy shop. He made some absurd statements in his video, and so I offered my feedback in the comments section. And being a conspiracy theorist, of course, he didn't like having his fantasies challenged, and so he began a campaign of insults, derision, and name-calling. And as the discussion centred around Cadman's cottage, which is a little cottage near Sydney Cove, I then provided him with links, information about the cottage, sent it to him. He derided all the information I sent, but in true conspiracy theorist fashion, he didn't actually provide any evidence of his own to prove his beliefs. He just kept throwing insults. That's what conspiracy theorists do. They don't have evidence, they only have insults. Anyway, I asked again and again for some evidence for him to back up his claims, but he didn't offer anything. All right. As the conversation groaned on and there was still no evidence being presented by him, a toy shop decided instead to make a video reply. And in it he peddled the same old mudflood fantasies with the same photos that keep getting circulated and with the expected doses of insults. So this video is both a reply to a toy shop and also an example of what it's like to deal with conspiracy theorists. In this case, someone who believes in the mud flood. I've made a number of videos about the mud flood, and you can go to my channel and have a look at them. And since a toy shop has no qualms about name-calling and generally being arrogant, for the rest of this video I'll just refer to him as Nutcase. There he is right there. In his own words, Nutcase says, "Thought it very strange a grown adult would spend his time going around denying people on YouTube. No, I don't deny people, I critique their nonsense conclusions." And really, Nutcase, I have to wonder why a grown man would spend his channel just sharing cartoons. Nothing wrong with cartoons, but that seems to be the basis of your channel, and now you've switched over to mudflood, of course. But then why are you, a grown man, indulging in all these cartoons, which, by the way, Nutcase doesn't actually make himself. All he does is get his phone and film the TV screen, and that's his effort. So great work there, Nutcase. Good content, yeah. But, you know, I've put in the time and the effort to actually research all these conspiracy theories, mudflood and flat earth and Tartarian creationism. I've spent the time to do the work, to research and to learn and to debate. You know, I make original content. All right? He's made one so far and he thinks he's an expert. Go and look for yourself at my videos. They're freely available on my channel for all to see. And of course, all Nutcase has got is cartoons that he copies from someone else's channel. So anyway, Nutcase took a tour around Sydney, my hometown, and he visited a bunch of old sites and decided that they were mudflood buildings. Certainly, Nutcase doesn't know. He just looks at a building and makes up a story. The sticking point in these in the comments that we were doing was it was about Cadman's cottage, which he believes was dug out of the mud flood, an event which, of course, never occurred, except in the minds of YouTube conspiracy theorists. So look, quick history lesson. Sydney was founded on January 26, 1788 as a British penal settlement. All right, Cadman's cottage was constructed in 1816 next to a beach beside Sydney Cove as a coxswain's cottage. I think that's the right way to pronounce it. It was built on the natural ground level, backed by rocks from which the area takes its name, i.e. the rocks. This diagram shows how close the cottage was to the original shoreline of Sydney Cove. The cottage appears in this painting from 1821 and again in this painting from 1842. And this one clearly shows the cottage as also being on the natural ground surface above the level of the water of Sydney Cove. There's no evidence of it being dug out. All right? It was built on the ground surface. So that's pretty easy to understand. In 1884, a water barrier was built to help protect the cottage from flooding. In 1932, the wharves had by now been extended much further out into Sydney Cove. These developments continued up to 1964, they went further out. And over the next 5 decades, the shoreline continued to be extended further and further into Sydney Cove. Today, the shoreline is about 87 metres away from the cottage. Put simply, the changes in land usage reflect the rapid growth of Sydney as a city and trading hub. More buildings, more wharves, bigger, higher, faster, all that. And then there's little Cadman's cottage, which has witnessed all of this. Over its long history, it has been adapted, added to, its boundaries redefined. The land in front of it has been raised to protect it from high tides. The introduction of motor vehicles resulted in new metal roads and a continued raising of the surrounding landscape. So another example of how the land surface in Sydney has been raised is the tank stream. In this painting, you can see the stream on ground level. Of course, where else would it be? But today, the tank stream is now up to 12 feet below the streets of Sydney. Why? For the simple reason that the stream was eventually covered, then roads were built over it, larger and larger buildings went up, and the ground surface kept rising. Once again, this isn't hard to understand. Land surfaces change not because of a mythical mud flood, but because cities grow and expand and get bigger. For example, London. It was originally a Roman town. Over 2,000 years, the city's got higher and higher and higher, and in some cases like 4 or 5 stories down to the original ground surface. London, cities get bigger, you build on this, you build on that, cities get higher and higher. It's nothing to do with a mud flood. Cities are allowed to get bigger. But Nutcase's MO is that he looks at a building, sees that it's slightly lower than the surrounding area, and then he jumps to the absurd conclusion that it's the result of a mud flood. Literally, that's how his mind operates. And he won't investigate the history of the building because he thinks that all of history is fake. Therefore, it can only be a mud flood building, and he'll stick to that belief no matter what. But strangely, Nutcase can't also make up his own mind. At 10:35, he says he's not sure he believes in the mud flood, yet he writes bucket loads of comments in defense of the mud flood. He calls those who don't believe in the mud flood robots, and then he makes a video response in defense of the mud flood. But he's not sure that he believes in mud flood. Well, clearly he does. Conspiracy theorists are masters at lying. For example,
he denies that mudslides can happen, it seems. That doesn't have any idea that they could ever happen or have ever happened. We do have the word, we've got a definition for it, even must be magical, he thinks, that a fairy tale land, mudslides never happen in the real world, denies it completely.
Where in the video comments did I deny that mudslides happen? Please show me, Nutcase, show me where I deny they happen. I deny it completely. Again, where did I say that? I invite all viewers to go through the comments, if you've got nothing better to do, and find the bit where I said that mudslides do not occur. You won't find it because Nutcase is making it up. Once again, conspiracy theorists are liars. Really, that's all they've got. Nutcase then commented on his own original video and said, it wasn't much at all. Well, you've got that right. That's probably the only thing in your video that you did get right, or in the comments. I provided Nutcase with a painting from 1845 that shows Cadman's cottage on the original ground surface. This is it. But Nutcase refused to accept this evidence. Apparently, according to him, paintings are fake. So it's not just history books, paintings are fake as well. Can't rely on them. They never say who made all these things. All journals and documents and things, paintings from hundreds of years ago, even just back in the 1840s. Oh no, they're all fake. You can't. History's fake. Well, then who did it? Can you name names? No, of course you can't. It's a real painting. Just because you think it's fake, it doesn't actually make it fake. Nutcase, question for you, Nutcase. Have you ever heard of the term the Rocks? You know the place in Sydney where Cadman's cottage is? It's called that for a reason, and I'll give you a moment to think. Why is it called the Rocks? Not too hard for you? Well, I'll tell you. It's because the landscape was predominantly rocks before European settlement. Right? That's not hard to understand. It's not mud as you claim. But of course you wouldn't know that because you're a conspiracy theorist, and research isn't one of your strong points. And then, what are you doing? Nutcase goes on to wonder if I'm getting paid to spread disinformation. I love it when they do these sort of things. What a dumbass, idiotic thing to say. Am I a paid misinformation agent or something like that? No, I'm not being paid for my presence on YouTube. The fact that you can even ponder such a possibility is clear evidence that you're a true delusional. Okay, but certainly if you can show me the receipts for the money I'm getting, I'd love to see them. Yeah, Got a couple of bills to pay, so yeah, that'd be nice. Let me know how much they're paying me, because I haven't seen a cent of it. You see, Nutcase falls into the same trap that all lunatic conspiracy theorists fall into. They find photos online and then parade them as fitting their fantasies without actually looking into what they are really seeing. And this leads me to the next point. In his video at 9:09 in his video, he said, well, I'm glad Nutcase used this particular photo because it gives me the opportunity to set the record straight about what it actually is. Mud flooders love this photo and they use it again and again, believing it shows buildings going deep underground, thereby proving that there was a mud flood that half buried them. That's the mud flood fantasy. This photo in reality was taken in 1973 and shows the excavation to build the, and I do not speak French, but the Les Halles shopping centre in Paris. That's what it is. It's a very deep excavation to build a shopping centre. And contrary to what mud flooders believe, the grey areas down low, down at the deep in the excavation, and I've put arrows pointing to them, these are not part of the buildings above. This is not one continuous building going all the way from top to bottom. This is just the shoring up of the excavation so that all the buildings above and all the streets don't collapse into the excavation. That's all it is. You can go and look at modern buildings today going up, very, very tall buildings with deep foundations. You can see that they shore it up with concrete so that the buildings above don't collapse down. That's all it is. It's the building of a shopping centre in Paris in 1973. Yet mud flooders use that photo constantly. They don't actually know what they're looking at. Well, in our case, it's called research. If you're not sure about something, you research it and you look into it. But of course, Nutcase just looks at this photo and happily puts it in his video as proof of the mud flood. And then at 9:32, he shows a picture of a house.
Mud flooded buildings. Anyway, deny that too. Deny it, mate. Sweet as.
And this is evidence to him. He thinks that this building is the victim of the mud flood. Well, no, again, research comes to the rescue. This is, it certainly is a mud flow, but it's from a volcano of Mount Unzen, near the town of Shimabara, Nagasaki Prefecture, Japan, which erupted in 1991. No, it's from a volcano. It's not your 19th century or your 18th century mud flood. Okay, it was a modern house that, unfortunately, like many others in the area, was the victim of this mudslide from a volcano. And in fact, it was a pyroclastic flow, and it killed 43 people. So again, research. You find these things out. But of course, Nutcase doesn't know this. He just saw the photo on the internet and goes, "Oh, look, mud up to that second story. It must be the mud flood." And he just makes up stories around it. At 9:55 in his video, look how excited he gets here.
Look at these sub-basements. 2, 3, 4 stories underground sub-basements there. I mean, are you really going to call that a sub-basement, mate?
He thinks he's actually found something. He thinks he's onto something. I'm not calling these sub-basements because they obviously aren't. Once again, it's the shoring up of the buildings above so that they don't collapse into the excavation below. And this was a weird one. At 12:27, he said,
"Everywhere we dig, we find evidence of it. Every hole, not every hole, but most holes in these areas where we dig down, we are pretty much going to find some evidence of a civilization that was down there, which has been buried."
Every hole we dig, well, not every hole, but most holes. Which holes, Nutcase? Do you know how many holes it takes to fill the Albert Hall? And at 12:43 in his video, he says, "You can deny it all you like." Well, yes, I do deny it completely. I deny any and all pretend they are smart. And then he ends his video with a little title at the end, and I thought this was hysterical. It was, "AtheistDominion equals immoral domination of a lord/master." Wow, man, can you print up some t-shirts that say that? I'll put in an order for 500 straight away. Do you take PayPal? Let me know. So anyway, that's my my reply to Nutcase's video reply. I'm sorry, Nutcase, if there was too much research in there that you couldn't get your head around. I know you'll think it's all fake and you won't believe it. And this is my video reply to you. Nutcase, let's see what you come up next. Keep banging the rocks together, Nutcase, and enjoy your cartoons. See ya.